So today, one of the topics that I thought I would discuss is advice for how do you know when to start doing things again, right? So maybe you've struggled with any of these chronic illnesses, right? I really don't care to numb it down to long COVID or CFS. It's all the same. Nervous system sensitivity, or chronic stress-related illness, anxiety-related illnesses. This literally applies for anybody, even somebody that's not struggling with illness. If you're just struggling with social anxiety, or you're just struggling with a mind that's out of control and is making you live from a space of fear, it's the same thing, right? Some of it's just more physical. And yeah, I mean, people online will be like, oh, if you can recover, it's not a physical illness, you just had a mental illness. But that's bullshit, because the correlation between the mind and body is not as separate as everybody thinks it is. And it's quite obvious when you start to explore this. Like, where does my mind begin and my body end? Literally, where is the separate space that is your mind and your body? Like, go and show me where does your mind separate from your body? I'm interested if you can find that. I'm very interested. That's just a bit of pushback against people online, because I see it a lot on comments on any recovery story that gets a little bit of kind of good viewage. I don't know if that's a word, but if you put a video out there and it gets a decent amount of views, there will be those guys and girls. To be honest, it feels more like guys. That's just a thought that occurred to me now. It's more of a male thing. All the guys that I see that are, although on Reddit, I think it was quite a mix, but anyways, that's fucking beside the point. It's not mental or physical. It's not one or the other, right? It's both. So I just want to lay that foundation. That when I'm saying this extends to anxiety, this extends to depression, this extends to physical illness, it's all very interrelated, and this stuff can be helpful. Sure, alongside therapy, whatever, I don't know shit. I'm just sharing. Anyways, what I wanted to kind of try to offer in this video, and I never know where these videos are going to go, but I just kind of speak to what feels like it's a helpful point for people based on questions I get. And one of the things that came up in one of the recent group Zoom meetings was, how do I... Sorry, my dog was barking incessantly, so I had to go and sort that out. But that's great. That gives me an entry point back into where I was going with this. And that is, how do we re-engage with the world, right? Like, you're working with your symptoms, and I've got so many videos about that. How to work with the symptoms, right? Deal with that. And there's many modalities. But what about when you want to start doing things again? You want to go and socialize. You want to go and exercise. You want to get a job. You want to go and study. I don't know what it is people want to do. You want to be creative, right? That's what I'm more interested in, because you have to stop holding back from those spaces eventually, right? I'm not here to tell you when to do that, because that's up to you, right? Somebody might hear this and tell me to fuck off because they don't feel like it's the right move for them. So don't listen to me if it doesn't feel like it's the right move for you. But it is my experience where I had to look next, right? It was like, okay, now how do I entirely engage and really find ways to kind of not hold back in life anymore, right? So it stops being at all about illness. Like for me, like, I don't, people will comment on my videos and like say things about, I don't know, about illness. I should try this, I should do that. And I'm like, I mean, that's great if it's working for you, but that's just not like even apparent in my reality anymore. It's just about kind of finding, where am I still holding back in life? How can I, push the boundaries? And it doesn't mean that there aren't still tough spaces to navigate, right? But it's just, it's not about this belief in symptoms or anything like that. It's just so clear that that was all interpretation, right? So anyways, when you want to go and do something, the balance is just do it, right? You never get to a space where you feel ready. I've never gotten to a space where I felt ready for anything in my life. Ready is too late. Apparently that's a famous Zen, from a famous Zen master. I'd probably like, it just came to mind now. I don't know if that's relevant here at all, but you don't feel ready. I never felt ready to start recording YouTube videos. I never felt ready to start working one-on-one with people. I never felt ready to interview and have a conversation with anybody that I've interviewed. There's no such thing as ready. There isn't. And that's what keeps you stuck, right? The mind is waiting for readiness. The mind is waiting for a baseline. The mind is waiting for safety. Safety is a trap, right? But this is the balance, right? Because if you just watch that section of my video, you can easily come up with counter arguments of why I'm talking nonsense. And if that is what you feel, that's what you feel. The balance is when there's a lot happening in our body that is kind of... Sorry, I had to address my dog again. She was trying to join in the video. She got some good advice, but it wasn't kind of the topic that I was getting into, so I had to silence her. The thing is, right, if this doesn't resonate, then that's fine. Then focus on my other videos, right? Focus on the meditation. Focus on creating a more kind of healthy balance in your nervous system. That's the key, right? That is the balance. It's about pushing when we need to, and it's about sitting when we need to, and kind of integrating. So this is more directed at somebody that, you know, is feeling that, okay, I can handle my symptoms when I'm sitting at home, but how do I push the boundaries now, right? How do I go to the gym, or is that unsafe? And just look at what are you afraid of, right? Because eventually you get to the space where there's nothing bad that can actually happen, right? There's literally nothing. Like, I've pushed myself into many different areas of life, and sometimes I need to sit and feel what comes up, but that's not bad. It's only bad if you're afraid of the sensations. That's why you need to do this work around sitting and feeling and retraining your kind of approach to the sensations, right? You could call it symptoms. Okay, these symptoms, initially I was thinking of as bad and I need to fix them. And now I can realize that when symptoms come up, this is good. This is good. I need to do this work, because if it brings up resistance, then resistance is okay as well. I'm not going to say this in every video, but it's funny. In every single video I talk about resistance, people will always make comments about resisting resistance, right? And that's okay. So if there's resistance there, there's resistance there. Like, people will try to start arguments and debates with me in the comments about, well, you know, is it really acceptance if I'm doing this? And I try to address this in most of my videos, but I can't speak about the same thing every time. I don't want to, right? So yeah, just see, what are you afraid of? That's what was so helpful for me, right? Is like, even after recovery, there were still things I was afraid of on a social level, right? I was afraid of, how is this person going to perceive me if I go do this? Often there's shame coming up emotionally, there's guilt coming up emotionally, and that makes us want to not be seen. You know, I've had phases where that's the strong, prominent emotional experience. It was this feeling of, damn, I need to hide. And it's like, well, what is this? This is in response to a sensation. It is. It always comes back down to that. So you need both tools, right? You need the ability to clarify within yourself that I am reacting to a sensation. And you need to practice meditation or somatic modalities, right? There's many options. And I've got videos on this, and there's other stuff out there. That you need that kind of foundation from my experience, right? I can't speak for everyone, but if you like what I speak about, then that's my take. And you also need to push yourself in the relative, because awakening and all of this is not about becoming separate and transcending life. It's not. It's about becoming the most like ordinary human, but at the same time realizing that identity doesn't even exist in any form at all, in the sense that you're not a human, you're not consciousness, you're not awareness. All of that is the mind trying to reify a new point of view. So it's like the balance, right? It's the integration and the disintegration. You need to integrate to become a full human in one sense. Like I've noticed times where my mind try to use awakening to avoid life. And it's like, no. How can I fully integrate? But at the same time, you realize you're not only a human, right? You're this space. I don't know. I don't have any words to describe it. There's people that talk about this stuff way better than me, like Angelo and others who are very deeply awakened. But yeah, it's both, right? So can you become the most ordinary human? There's nothing special about you. There's no spiritual ego. But at the same time, can you not be like caught up in the social conditioning that everybody else is caught up in, right? You can transcend that you don't have to seek anybody else's validation. You don't have to do anything that you don't want to, right? That doesn't align with you. But that takes a lot of courage. Like to go against the grain, it's not easy. So there's no point in complaining. You know, people will complain on my videos that, well, what about my finances? You know, you talk about all this shit, but like I've got a job and finances to deal with, so your stuff doesn't apply to me. And you must have had all your finances taken care of for you to be able to let go. It's quite the opposite, to be honest. I've had to make some very scary decisions for myself and just trust in this process that I will learn what I need to along the way, right? I had to drop out of university when I was like top of my class in third year economics. And that was very difficult for me to do because there was so much identity tied into that, right? It was like, well, who am I if I'm no longer this high achieving guy that's, you know, doing well academically? And it doesn't, but here's the thing, don't apply my story to yourself, right? Like now you could hear it and be like, oh shit, okay, I need to drop out of any area of my life where I'm doing well. This doesn't exclude excelling in academics or excelling in sport or excelling in finances, anything. That's all fine. But at the same time, I'm not saying that you don't have to navigate difficult terrain. I'm constantly doing that, right? I have no idea how I'm going to make my finances work half the time. And then I just see where am I holding back, right? Where can I push myself more? And then I do that. And then there's fear, and then there's helplessness, and then there's kind of, doubt that wants to give up and like not do anything. And this is where attitude is so important, right? I just like, well, I can sit and mope around and be like, life is too difficult, or I'm just willing to burn in the not knowingness of where I'm going, but wanting to still express my deepest kind of promptings. But that's more on the other side, right? So if that just sounds too esoteric and spiritual, then start with some cultivating awareness, right? Some meditation practice, some body sense modalities, right? Like body work combined with awareness work is a very helpful tool. Watch pointers, right? Watch Angelo DeLulo, watch Suzanne on Duality, anybody that resonates, right? There's people that talk about this stuff and they can point you to the part of yourself that resonates with that. And then, but also there's no map. There's really no, there's maps, but there's no map, if that makes sense. There's no map of how to do this because you only need a map when you're living from fear, right? When you're afraid of fear. If you're okay to sit in fear as you take on this kind of, you hop onto this ship that's sailing over the horizon and you have no map for where it's going, but you just go. That's what it starts to feel like. That's what my life feels like right now. I have no idea where anything is fucking going, but I'm going. And if I, fall off the edge of the horizon, then I do that and then I feel into what I need to feel. Right. But there's nothing special about me. Like, as I'm saying this, a little bit of like, ugh, why am I talking so much about myself? It sounds stupid. There's nothing special about me. I just want to try and relate what it feels like to people, because people are always putting on their own assumptions onto me in the comments, right? Like, oh, so this was your situation and that was your situation. And it's like, no, that's your image of me, right? And it actually really doesn't matter what my exact path has been, but it's helpful to talk about that. I know that. Obviously, it's helpful, but take it with a pinch of salt, as always. I'm always trying to remind people of this. Like, if my stuff's helpful, awesome. But then, like, use the stuff that can help you on your own kind of, I don't know, your expression, right? Like, that's what this is about. It's like, how can you come into your authenticity? It doesn't matter if it's not the same as mine. It's never going to be the same as mine. Like, for somebody, maybe their authenticity is starting a family and spending a lot of time cultivating that, and then it's something else, and then it's something else. And for me, it's tackling big challenges for now, and who knows where it goes. So yeah, I mean, that's that. Yeah, I hope it's helpful. All the best.